In this segment, Matt talks a bit about how he engaged in self-study and the balance he had to find between finding structure and exploring the boundaries and exploring spaces that aren't structured.
And so I had the opportunity, ideally, I would have studied during working and then done a clean pivot out of that job, but they were working me till 10 and midnight frequently. So I decided to just cut the cord, quit, and live on my savings for a time while I'm studying to transition.
So a couple things that I think are interesting. The reason I think Matt's interesting is because he's been able to dedicate this time to it. So I think there's value from a lengthy, intense effort. And let me tell you, if you want to do something difficult, I think one of the models for this is James Madison, who spent time studying before the Constitutional Convention. He went deeply for a number of months through everything that had ever been thought about constitutions. There's value in finding that sort of space where you really can go deeply, and Matt's been able to do that in a certain sense. But let's talk for just a minute about how you use that space, right? You quit. So you don't have anybody calling you. One thing that I invited Matt to do was to become involved with an open source project that I'm involved with, Geneva ERS. We have calls 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. It gave Matt every day, well, on those days, something to call into to say, hey, here's what's going on. Now, Matt wasn't directly involved with the project, but Geneva ERS is in data science space. It wasn't doing, and so it was relevant, but it provided him some place where he had to report back on what's going on and get asked questions about how are you using your time. Is that right, Matt?
Yes, definitely. And I can think of many days where the time was soon approaching, and I've been studying throughout the day, but it's like, oh, I need a deliverable for that call. Let me make sure I have something that I can show for when I get to that call. So it really helped me to, hey, I have to be moving the ball every day so I can be presenting something, but also it really helped me to keep a sense of professionalism.
So the point that I make there is, if you do find yourself in a space where you can devote deep time, you also have to find ways of making that time effective. And that often requires finding people to report to that hold you accountable in some way for how are you using that time and how are you progressing.
I would totally agree. I would say without accountability, I probably would have had half the pace that I do right now.
Good. Okay, then go on. What you were going to share, I think, a little bit further.
This is aside from here down are technologies that I've learned since I quit in March. And even that is just quite a prodigious list. So this was just the way I thought about it. The first thing I had to do was purchase a laptop that could do a considerable amount of things. I decided between DataCamp and Codecademy which one I wanted to sort of trust my growth to. And as far as I could tell, Codecademy was more geared towards web development, and DataCamp was more data analytics and projects based. And since I wasn't starting from zero, I thought the projects would be more useful. Did DataCamp, reached out to Kip and solidified that.
How was that as far as a base place to go?
Oh, I really like DataCamp. Personally, here I can show you just a touch of it, what that looks like. Um, so it's really like aesthetically attractive, of course. And what I did was I found this Python and data scientist is a career track within that. So I clicked on that, and then I was moving through it consistently. And what I found was after a certain amount, there were things that I wanted to hunt and peck, certain
Yep.
skills. So I sort of abandoned this
Yep.
career track in order to choose specific skills that I wanted to learn.
Yep.
But for example, if we went here, here's sort of what that looks like. It'll give you a video, maybe a 3 or 4 minute video, and then testing like this.
Yep.
Which comes with hints or answers, but you lose experience points if you ask for hints. So that's the coward's way out.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
Um,
interesting. That's kind of a gutsy thing to do, to commit yourself to it. I mean, you have to kind of judge if you're being lazy or if you're, being disciplined about, I'm not going to waste my time going through the structure of everything that somebody else thought about. There's other things that I think are more important, isn't it?
and to be fair, when I stepped away from that data analytics core pathway that they gave me, and I started to look at the other accessory things, said, okay, one thing that I want to learn about is machine learning. Another thing that I want to learn about is like exploratory data analysis. So when I see a data set, what's the first thing I should do? Just to feel out the data set, find out how many nulls there are, find out the shape of the data, what the averages look like, those sort of things. And the more I looked into those, the more I realized those were the courses that were the rest of the path that I haven't done yet. So it's like, oh, well, I maybe should have just continued because they did know
Yeah,
best.
okay.
But now I feel more comfortable doing it.
Yep, and having explored the territory yourself rather than just follow the map, you have a sense of how those things are connected.
Definitely.